Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so you know what that means. Get with your family, eat a whole bunch of food, watch football, sleep, watch some more football. Do not go shopping. Put the comics down for one day and spend with your family and do the things I just mentioned. For my Canadian viewers, this does not apply to you. You guys had your Thanksgiving back in October. All right, so let's get it in. First up, DC is giving us Batgirl number 5. I like what they're doing with this character because she doesn't have to depend on Batman to have her own adventures. She's a good standalone character now. Next up is Batman Beyond number 2. This is the future Batman played by Terry McGinnis. And in this future, there's a group of people that worship the Joker like he's a deity. So you can only imagine the type of mayhem that's going on in this future. Next up is Frostbite number 3 of a 6-part miniseries. This is a future dystopia where the Earth has plunged into a new ice age and how people fight each other for control of the resources on how to live in this new reality. It's influenced by Mad Max as well as the Hunger Games as well as The Walking Dead. Instead of fighting zombies in each other, they're fighting the cold in each other. Next up is He-Man and Thundercats number 1, which is going to a second printing. If you grew up in the 80s, then these properties are iconic to you. Eventually, they will make their way into movies, but their costs are going to be very prohibitive right now. The CGI will be off the charts because they're off-world. However, if the comics still sell and the toys still sell, then they'll probably take a shot at doing movies on this. That would be welcome. Next up is Superpowers number 1. This is an all-ages comics that's starring DC's Holy Trinity, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. If you have a small child that's interested in comics and you want to get something age-appropriate for them, this would be it. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that's going to be all new X-Men Annual number 1. They're giving a spotlight to this very underused character called Edie Okonoko, who's a Nigerian mutant with the power of thermokinesis. Her powers are somewhere between Pyro and Iceman, and her first appearance is in Uncanny X-Men number 528 back in 2010. Marvel is giving a big push with diversity. They're going for more black readers, more female readers, and more younger readers, and this character checks all the boxes. And so does Moon Girl. In issue number 13, it's revealed that she's the smartest person in the Marvel Universe. Dr. Doom, Reed Richards, Amadeus Cho, none of them are smarter than this 4th grader. You might want to start taking this title seriously and picking up her first appearance in Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 1 from 2015. Next up is the Clone Conspiracy number 1, which is going to a 3rd printing. To say this has been a success is an understatement. This is part 1 of a 5-part miniseries. Next up is Star Wars number 25. The writer is Jason Aaron, and he must have the mutant power of not having to sleep because he's writing this and Thor and Doctor Strange and his own title at Image called Southern Bastards, all at the same time, and they're all so different. In this issue, the Rebel crew fights against the Scar Troopers. Next up is the Death of X number 4. This is the finale of this miniseries, and it's been a phenomenal success. It does not appear that the X-Men and the Inhumans can coexist. And I talked about it in previous videos how Marvel owns the Inhumans movie rights, where Fox owns the X-Men's movie rights. So Marvel is pushing the Inhumans out of spite, but they wrote a great story as well. It's not all politics. Issue number 2 is going to a 2nd printing, and this variant pays homage to X-Men 136 back in the day when John Byrne was drawing it during the Dark Phoenix saga. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Venom number 1. It's very clear that this character is the arch nemesis of Spider-Man replacing the Green Goblin. They're taking the character back to his roots because the Venom Space Knight stuff just wasn't working. Fans didn't really react to it. They want Venom Lethal Protector, who's an antagonist against Spider-Man. Now, Marvel plans to exploit this to the hilt with a Todd McFarlane variant, but it's really not original art. It's lifted from Amazing Spider-Man 299, which he drew back in 1988, so it really shouldn't count as a variant. I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe Todd just refused to do an original piece or something, but it's pretty silly. Either way, it's cool to have the real Venom back. Next up is Captain Marvel, The Complete Collection by Jim Starlin on trade paperback. Jim Starlin is this guy right here, and he's the architect of Marvel's cosmic universe. The current Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers, who was upgraded from Miss Marvel, introduced in 1977. The upgrade to Captain Marvel happened in 2012. She'll be played by Brie Larson in the Captain Marvel movie in 2019. But in the 1970s, Captain Marvel was Marvel, the Kree Warrior. And this trade paperback is the complete run of all that. It gave us a big dose of characters he created like Adam Warlock and Thanos. As I mentioned last week, Jim Starlin created Thanos in Iron Man number 55 back in 1973. So the Avengers Infinity Wars has Jim Starlin's fingerprints all over it. This trade paperback costs about $35 and it gives you a chance to review all that source material. Speaking about the current Captain Marvel, in issue number 10, she has her final battle with Tony Stark, Iron Man, in the final battle of Civil War Part 2. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Dino Quest number 1 of a 5-part miniseries. This is basically a Disney mashup with steampunk. It's an all-ages comic. Next up is Masked number 1 from Titan Comics. A soldier returning from war with PTSD obtains superpowers from an anomaly, and he must face other anomalies that are not so friendly and save the city. Next up is Bloodshot USA number 2 from Valiant Comics. The paramilitary organization Project Rising Spirit that created Bloodshot in the first place has weaponized the technology and turned it into an airborne virus which is infecting all of New York, and only the Bloodshot can stop it. This is a 4-part miniseries which ties into the main Bloodshot Reborn title, and the action adventure is off the charts on this. As you can see, there's a lot of variants that tie in with it. And for the record, I am not anti-variant, but I am anti-spending a lot of money for a book that just came out that's not as rare as you think. If you spend on a variant the equivalent of the cost of lunch at McDonald's, you're fine. If you spend on a variant the cost of gas money or higher, you are crazy. When it's time to sell, you're going to sell them for less money than you bought them for. So what's the point? Don't get caught in the hype. Next up, let's see what Image Comics is up to. They always have great stuff. First up is AD After Death number 1 of a 3-part miniseries. This is the team up of Scott Snyder and Jeff Lemire, who are probably 2 of the best comic writers in the business right now. This is the story about a world in which the genetic cure for death has been found. The advanced art does not have splashy superheroes on it, so retailers could go low on this and it could be a surprise hit. I expect that to happen. Next up is Black Monday Murders number 1, which is going to a 4th print. This is more brilliance from Jonathan Hickman, who's one of the best long story art writers in comics. Shown here is issue 1 of the first print, and like AD I mentioned just before, it's more of science fiction than it is comic books. It's a story of the occult and the struggle of power among the elite. So issue 1 has a 4th print, issue 2 is going to a 3rd print, and issue 3 is also going to a 2nd print. Issue 4 first print also drops this week. So clearly this title has found its audience and people are really digging it. To close the show, it's going to be Chew number 60, which is the final issue of this title. To celebrate the occasion, they have a double-sized trifold cover and it sells for $6 instead of the regular $4. Chew first came out in 2009 completely out of nowhere and became a hit. It's probably one of the most offbeat stories I've ever seen become a hit series. It's the story of an FDA agent who solves crimes by receiving psychic impressions from the food he's eating, including people. That's just strange. But somehow it became a hit. 9.8's graded sell for about $400, and that's only going to go higher because there's been talk about this being a TV series that was scrapped, and now they're talking about animated series. I would bet dollars to donuts that it does eventually make it to television in some form. So picking up the final issue for cover price is probably a good idea. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.